Hey there. I'm so excited. I just had to reach out to you with this little short video, ideally short, because I am increasingly becoming pumped and excited for the upcoming Ultra Seminar that Jose Silva created many, many decades ago that I have the honor and privilege to facilitate and present for you. This is a program, by the way, if you happen to be watching this and you've yet to attend Silva Life and Intuition System live with an instructor, or way back when, when we called it the Basic Lecture Series, then you'll need to attend Life and Intuition System first, complete it, because this is a program, an advanced program, and we're going to build on the foundation of what we started. You can remember when we explored remote healing, we did caseworking and tuning in, and you were in awe, you were amazed. Oh my God, I can't believe how accurate it was, and repeatedly, let alone everybody else in the room. I've witnessed this with hundreds of thousands of people all over the globe, over 10 million people with the most copied program. Well, more importantly, the key with working with your intuition is yes, but what you can do with it to solve a problem. And that's what the Ultra Seminar builds on. It starts where we left off. It's not about intuitive investigation. We saved that for the foundation program. It's about building on what you already did from the point of view of, like I said, solving problems. So let me give you a little bit of insight to it. Way back when, quick little history, little origin story. Remember, Mr. Silva started in 1944 and didn't finally complete his research until 1966 when he offered the first course. But during that time, especially in the mid-1950s, when he began to recognize he was onto something of more value than just improving memory, remember? And he started researching ESP, psychic phenomenon, intuition, parapsychology. But then because of this interest, newfound interest, he became aware of people were telling him over the border in Mexico, where they're not the same laws we have in the US, there were all these healers doing laying on of hands and stuff like that. Jose never heard of such a thing. He knew about prayer. He was a devout Catholic. So he went to investigate. And as you can tell, or as you can guess, he found some individuals that seemed to be charlatans, you know the type. But every once in a while, he found someone that seemed to be doing something that he couldn't explain. And he started watching them and watching. That was part of his research. And then he started playing with it at home, wondering, could I also do it? And then, sure enough, he could. And it began to reassure him that this was a skill that anyone could develop if they had an interest and had the right training. So he began to then, of course, experiment on his children, in particular Isabel and Margie, the two eldest at the time, and other neighborhood children. And he began to research things like laying on of hands, energy work. Jose's background was in electronics. He was a self-taught electronics expert, radio repairs, TV repairs. So it's interesting today how energy medicine has become a big thing. Jose, way back when, always put in the context of energy and moving energy in our body, the human aura. He knew about the chakras, that's different philosophies, but he did know that our body is electromagnetic, does have very slight, but an electrical charge, an electrochemical. And that, you felt it. You're in the presence of somebody who's sad, upset, depressed. You can't help but feel it. And then you're with somebody who's the life of the party, and they've got such a, in a good mood. You can't help but get that contact high. We've all been there. You make more of a difference than you realize. You've heard me say this before. And then when you're in the presence of someone. So Jose began to formulate very specific tools that with conscious awareness, first it takes self-awareness to recognize this, and then a little bit of training to organize it. You'd be amazed how you can influence with integrity a business meeting, your children, your friend, each other in a positive way, how you can help to raise the energy in your community in a positive way. Good physicians, good psychologists, good therapists, good massage workers, good coaches know how to do this. If they're effective and they've got the right training, they do this already. when you go to an event and you're in with like minds. And that's why I'm so excited, because I've been putting together ideas I want to build on. It's Jose's program. However, I've been given that privilege. This is the first program he asked me to present globally to fill in for him. What an honor. And doing that, I learned so much, and I started doing my own research. So I'm honoring that work and adding some different aspects. So let me just give you a little bit of a soundbite. I'm working on keeping it short. You guys know me, but I tell you, I'm really pumped, and I hope you can make it. It'll be worth everything it took to take time off, etc. Fly out, drive out to us. It'll be in Connecticut. That's usually the base where we do them. So for example, the first thing we're going to do is, so many of you have asked, how about my children? How about my grandchildren? How about my mother who is in hospice? Or is my friend or my husband, whoever, is recovering from surgery, preparing for surgery? Well, it's best if they can do it for themselves. I mean, we can do our best, and pray and program for them. But when they do it for themselves, that's what maximizes the result. So you're going to learn how to guide them through a dynamic meditation. That's right, you heard me. And I'm personally, remember, I trained the instructors. The voice that's necessary, the tone, the thought patterns in your head, how to connect with them. How to connect with them, kind of like what Milton Erickson was known for. It's called modeling, tuning in with whoever he was working with in a way. Well, it's a skill set that I've developed that we were taught, some of it by Jose, some of it over the many decades doing this, in such a way that you will amaze yourself. You'll be in awe. It's like, if you remember my mom, at first she's making the sign of the cross and praying for me when she heard about my interest. But then when she saw the changes in me, I became from flunking out of college to a straight A student. I got rid of my headaches without any medication anymore. I got over some of my anger issues, and I guess she liked what she was perceiving. She took the class. And then she had me. She didn't want anyone's voice but mine, God bless her. And I did the long relax for her on a cassette. Remember cassettes? She listened to it every day. She stopped having asthma attacks. If you heard me in class, up to the age of 8, 10, my mom was always in the hospital, always sick in bed, and she had debilitating arthritis. Just doing that one exercise every day, she became my best testimonial. People in the family noticed this about her. She was not having asthma attacks anymore, and she went back to work. She had the mobility, use of her hands. You're going to learn. I'm going to teach you how to do that and how to be effective, not just objectively with your voice, but at a subjective level so that you connect. So this is not something, you can do it virtually, sure, but this is something when in person, it is far more effective. Yes, once a year as a service to my international community and others, I'll do a virtual immersion. But quite frankly, I've been very clear and very transparent. When you're in the presence of somebody, in their aura, you don't have to use that term, aura, the mirror neurons. Look it up, mirror neurons. It's something that neuroscientists have been talking about and raving about, because when you're in the presence of somebody who has a high level of confidence and mastery in what they're doing, it's transferred. It's like a husband and wife or two people who've been best friends for 20, 30, 40, 50 years or more. Their brainwaves synchronized, their patterns synchronized. And even at a distance, if one of them is in distress, and they've measured it and done experiments like this, the other, hundreds of miles away, thousands, senses it. Their whole physiology changes. That's at a distance. It's far more pronounced when you're in their presence. And that's why, my friends, this is not available to you online. Sure, you can read a book and get some information, and you'll be entertained, and you'll pick up a few things, of course. But where you really have the transformation and the impact, so you walk out of there with a high level of confidence and mastery that you can start using immediately. In fact, you're going to practice in the class. This is a very engaging program. This is, again, why it's live in person. You're going to teach you, you're going to demonstrate, and then you're going to do it with each other and play with it. And you'll see, and helping each other. So some people come because they want to be healed. They want to facilitate, speed up the healing in their own body. And others have people in mind. Can you imagine helping your children, your grandchildren, a spouse, a friend? People have accidents. People have surgery. Not everyone's sick. But the sky is the limit. That's one thing. You learn how to do the long relax. You're going to get the script that usually only goes out to instructors. You're going to be graced with that, word for word, what Mr. Silva spent 22 years. That's just one small part of what you'll be doing. We're then going to talk a lot about energy work and what Jose called mental broadcasting. A good reference to this, if you haven't read it, is You the Healer by Jose Silva and Robert Stone. I am going to bring those skills and tools that he talks about. I'm going to bring in that book, I'm going to bring them to life, and we're going to play with them. We're going to practice with them. And you are going to actually experience it for yourself, let alone your neighbor. It is so cool. We've had people in the Ultra Seminar who are suffering from long-term pain, chronic pain. And then we apply some of the tools that we practice, and they're leaving after day one, let alone day two. And it's been diminished by significant amounts and often 100%. You're going to learn how to do that and take home the skills. You'll get a manual illustrating the tools. So this mental broadcasting is, well, I jumped ahead. I'm getting so excited, with this. But the mental broadcasting is you can work in your laboratory level, remember we call it, and how to attract the right customer, the right client, your soulmate, if you like to use that term. How to, in a way, with integrity, attract people who value you, who value your work, and are ready, willing, and able to hire you, to work with you. It's priceless. And how you can use it to influence. I shouldn't say it because my kids may watch this, but when they were smoking cigarettes, and no matter how much I talked about it, they'd smoke more. Well, I finally shut up, thanks to Barbara kicking me under the table, for those of you who met her, my wife, and started inviting them into my lab. Not to manipulate them, truly, but to express my love, my care, my concern, etc. That's all I did. And eventually, sometime later, I don't recall the timeline, but it's within a month, maybe 2 months, they're on the phone with their mom, telling them, I just had my last cigarette. You're going to learn how to do stuff like that, but how to apply it to collect unpaid bills, debts that are owed to you. I mean, it's not a quick fix, and you know me, I'm conservative, so you work with it, but these are the things that people report as proof of what's possible. And in the book, You the Healer, Jose and Robert Stone, important the second name, they talk in detail about this. So we're going to use this, and you're going to use how to work with the mental broadcasting. But now to go back to some of the healing tools. One is a rapid healing. So, by the way, Silva was doing this way before Reiki and things, and therapeutic touch, Dolores Krieger's work. This all goes way back. So people hear that, do your timeline. But regardless, if you have that background, this will add to it. This will build on that. This will complement it. You're going to learn how, if somebody's got a headache, how to help them get rid of it immediately if they've got pain in different parts of their body. Now, by the way, I'm not a doctor, you're not a doctor, so you've got to have their permission, and it's always best to do it in the privacy of your home, get what I'm saying, and with your family. Because I don't know about you, but nobody's going to tell me what I can do with my family, friends, loved ones. Even sometimes in a class, I've had to apply this with somebody. And how to use it, it's called rapid healing. It takes, as memory serves, less than 5 minutes to apply. And you're going to learn how to use the alpha healing sound in conjunction and how to make it work with a little Bluetooth device that has a magnet in it into making an electromagnetic field that is the point of stability, alpha, that we believe our concept will help to accelerate the healing. So we're going to demonstrate it, we're going to work with it all throughout the program and apply it. And you probably have the alpha sound. If you've studied with me, you get it for free from me, along with the long relaxation exercise in my voice. But anyway, that's another topic with that. You're also going to learn a longer version, a tool that you can use that's much more involved, where not touching, where you're going over different parts of the body and applying, moving the energy. You can actually feel it in your hands, my friends. It's so cool. You know, I'm very kinesthetic, and for me, that's very important. Even people very visual, you can actually feel the heat, the energy. People in the room feel that. It is so cool, and you can learn to apply that. Now, hopefully, you don't have to use all these tools all the time, but can you think of some of the times that you wish you had something like this? Because taking medication is sometimes necessary. No problem with that. And when people become dependent on the medication, that's when it becomes a problem. The side effects, the risk. Read anything says not for long-term use. So this is about taking command of your life. You have your own pharmacy. This is not a concept anymore. We know this fact. All the evidence shows us that our body, our brain produces our own pharmacy that is far more potent than anything that the drug industry has created. We just need to become conscious of it, recognize it, and learn how to implement it, how to use it. Even Dr. Sanjay Gupta, I was listening to him on a podcast, was talking how so much of pain is 90%, he said, not me, he said it, 90% is perception. So you're going to learn how to manage this energy. God, I could go on and on. There's a technique I've got to tell you and share. I have permission, Barbara won't mind. It's called the thumb on the forehead technique. However, you can be very creative with this and use this. We have 3 children. They're 45, 43, and now 34. Our 3 wonderful Silva Method graduate children. All 3 of them, Barbara, we're not brave, by the way. Maybe we are. But Barbara didn't want to put drugs, medication. She, became like a saint because the children feed on that directly. She began to eat very carefully. And we started exploring Lamaze, and we used it in conjunction with the Silva techniques so that she could go in and have painless birth, and work in the birthing room, etc. All 3 of our children, we did this. And all 3 times, even the gynecologist, OBGYN, the surgeon was delivering, were impressed. And interesting, they didn't want to know what we were doing, and they didn't care, but they noticed the difference, and even at first made fun. But one of the things that we did, so yes, Barbara did feel some pain. How much? It's easy for the guys, by the way. We just more worry about it. But it was, by comparison, it was minimal, and her labor was relatively short. But the technique is that we apply. I learned this way back. Remember, I was a Silva groupie. I followed Jose around. I was mentored by Jose. That's why he picked me. I followed him, and I don't remember how many times I sat with him in the Ultra Seminar and watching him and others present it, etc. And what I did was, and I'll explain this in detail in the class, but we adapted that. Instead of, the thumb in your forehead, she'd punch me out when she's giving birth. I was going to be in the birthing room, standing on her side. So it's very easy, guiding her and coaching her. And all throughout the pregnancy, when she was having contractions, they taught me in Lamaze and then at the hospital what to look for, the contractions, how they last, the cycles, the timing, etc. I did pretty good most of the time. However, I guide her using the long relax. I guide her into level, deep at level, right? And then I made the suggestion. Remember, when you're in your alpha theta state, you're in a very suggestible state. It's called neuroassociative conditioning. So I stroked her arm like so. I'm standing on her side like so, and said, and every time I stroke your arm like this, and especially when you're birthing, delivering our children, you relax like you are now, and more so. So we did that repeatedly. We didn't have to do it every day, and I don't recall how many, but we did it a bunch of times where it became just like happenstance. And then here we are at home. She's in the 3rd trimester, getting closer and closer to delivery. And I mean, it was awesome. And she needed no drugs, no medication. And it was really tricky because she was so good at it. And here I am, relaxing, just and so on. Because you can't talk. You don't want to tell a woman when she's giving birth, relax. She's liable to what. So we just did that. It became automatic. We prepared way in advance when there was little or no pressure. I mean, it was just awesome. And one I remember with our youngest, our daughter, Alana, it was so much so that it was 4 a.m, maybe a little bit later, 4:30 as I remember. And it seemed like the contractions were getting quicker. But there wasn't, the intensity was, it was minimal. And she thought she broke her water. And we're going, so I called up, he happened to be our friend, her OBGYN, Nick, and I told him what was going on. He said, oh, it's probably Braxton Hicks. It's not a real contraction, because you'd know it if it were. But okay, come into the hospital. I'll meet you there just in case. And, he's making a joke of it. very good guy. I mean, and because he didn't fluff it off. So we went, and I'm driving the car like a lunatic because they seem like they're coming quicker and quicker. We went in. She's in, you know, on the what do you call it, operating table. He comes walking in, very casual, making jokes, good guy. And he said, you know, hello. And then he checked, and he turned white. She's crowning. He couldn't believe there wasn't time to in the birthing room, and so on. I will always remember that for that. These are the kinds of things. Now, not everybody, many of you are no longer having children, you're not interested. That chapter in your life is closed, I know. But you may have grandchildren, you have children. There are things, ways that you can apply. They play soccer. You know, people fall, have injuries, etc., etc. I've used this on myself. I've had a couple of silly accidents. One not too long ago, biking on Block Island. Boy, I got all burnt up and down and bruised, and it had to take x-rays and check me all over. Smashed the, what do you call it, the helmet. I'm okay, but I was. But there was discomfort and pain that I was able to manage doing something like this because I have it ingrained in myself. You get the idea? What about you? Can you relate to this? There's so much more that we can use. We're going to build on that principle. I'm also going to build on this idea of guidance from source, from God, from the universe, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to put that in. We're also going to influence, and I'm developing some frameworks, some simple guided meditations specifically for the Ultra Seminar, which is on holistic healing, just for you, that you can work with and use and very easily copy on your own. And that, my friends, there's so much more. And I promise I want it to be brief. I look forward to serving you. If you can be there, please do. Grace with your presence. And they're going to be instructors present. They're going to be graduates I've known for 40, 50 years. The people come and they're reviewing. These are solid, positive grads who are in the game, know that it works, and their attitude is, how can I build on it? How can I master this even more so? And that's the kind of energy that will be in the room. And I'd like you to come and absorb it and help me to create that so that we are, each of us, in this together, transformed. And you can take it out and use it also to stay calm and peaceful and hopeful and optimistic in a world that seems like it's gone crazy at times. Excuse me for reminding you, but how could I not? That would be a tool for you. So remember, you're far more powerful than you realize. Come join me and discover it even more so. Thanks for listening, and see you soon.